Hey friends, Victor Pizzano with Charge Up. Thanks for joining us for another part of our series of Building the Champion's Mindset. Today we have a hometown hero that if you enjoy boxing, you know exactly who I'm about to talk about and share some of his knowledge and his wisdom and his experience. And that's what Building the Champion's Mindset is all about. It's taking the things that an athlete has and sharing them with others, taking them through their journey to give you the opportunity to listen, find the lessons within them, and try to create your plan accordingly, knowing that failure is going to be there, knowing that you're going to be tested and sacrifice, and a commitment to what you do is absolutely required. Born in San Antonio, Texas, part of boxing royalty, his family in San Antonio between his grandfather and his uncle boxing, and then his father, who is also a former Texas Golden Gloves champion. I'm going to give the name, so give it all away. So here it comes. Jesse James Leija did not get to box until he was out of high school. He got to watch his family, but he didn't get to start his career. But his journey toward becoming a two-time world champion was one of perseverance. It was discipline. And most of all, it was sacrifice. It was the life of being an amateur boxer. And that's all you do. You eat, live, sleep, breathe. Everything is around boxing. Today, retired, looking too dang young to be a grandfather. He's an entrepreneur. He serves as a leader within our community. He's an inspiration to young fighters, and he takes a tremendous amount of pride in San Antonio and what it represents. He's an example of overcoming challenges and having the courage to respect the process of becoming a champion. So with that, James Leija, how are you, man?
I'm doing well, brother. How you doing?
Hey, happy. I'm so excited that I got you on. I know you've been busy and we'll get to it because once again, as an entrepreneur, you're growing and the
Yeah.
city loves it. But I'm so excited. I want to thank you for being a part of Building the Champions Mindset. You're the perfect person because a lot of times we talk about perseverance and we talk about the journey and the process. So many people just focus on that outcome and they don't realize how many lessons are in the process, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, and I think that's I tell, we'll say my sons, I tell other fighters, I tell my businessmen that are at the gym trying to learn the art of boxing that the final part of where you want to go is not always the best part. The journey is the amazing part. Their journey to get there is what creates everything. That's what you come back for, and that's what everyone wants is to enjoy the journey, and that's the best part of it.
And every step you take in that journey, whether it be success or failure, it's still an experience that leads to growth. And that's the best part about that process.
You learn about yourself. You learn about who you are. The truth comes out on the hardest part where you're down and out and things aren't working for you. You find out who you are. You're either gonna keep fighting and go through it and get around it somehow, or you're gonna back up and give up. And when you back up and give up, nothing good comes out of that. You have to find out a way how to keep going forward and to how to get the best out of yourself.
So I'm going to ask you a tough question. So 16 years in the ring,
Mhm.
two world titles, nine world title fights. You defeated 15 contenders, three Olympians, and you retired with a record of 47, 7, and 2, which included 19 knockouts.
Mhm.
Can you describe that career and success in one word?
Discipline. I was a discipline all the way through it. Like you said, I didn't start fighting until I was 19 years old. So I was way behind the curve, way behind the curve. And I only had 30 or 34 amateur fights. So I was playing catch up most of my career. Even when I was towards the end of my career, I was still playing catch up because I was fighting everybody that really you know, had so much more year experience than what I did. So I always had to play catch up. And I've always figured out too that you don't always know everything. You can be in the ring for 30, 40 years and you still don't know everything. So there's always a learning process. When you fail to stop learning, you fail.
You do talk about starting late, and for you, people who have followed your career, people said you were an overachiever. They said you were too small to fight. And I know you struggled in those first few years just training, trying to make ends meet. You use that word discipline. It's a great word, but you still had an unwavering belief in yourself to succeed. Where did that confidence come from as a 19 and 20-year-old, knowing how far ahead everybody else was in front of you?
Yeah. Well, it's a. I started fighting when I was 16 years old or 15 years old. I tried the Golden Gloves and I trained for about a month. And then I went to the Golden Gloves and I lost my first fight. And I was 15 years old and I never went back. When I was 19, I got in a little bit of trouble when I was 19, and I was so disappointed in myself for getting in trouble, and I was more disappointed in what I did to my parents and what I made them feel like. And so I said, "That's it. I have to get myself together." I was a good kid. I wasn't a bad kid, but I got in trouble, and I said I have to do something to fix what I'd done wrong and for myself. And so I said, I'm gonna get in shape. I'm gonna go to the gym, start training again, but I want to become a firefighter or a police officer. That's what I was. That's what I was doing. So I'm gonna go to the gym and get in shape because I know you have to go to the police academy. You got to go through the whole rigorous program, the whole bit. So I said, that's my goal. That's what I want to do. So I started fighting as an amateur. I started training as an amateur, and then my first fight, even before the first fight, 2 weeks before the first fight, I got my nose broken. I'm like, oh my God, now I can't even fight yet. But I was getting in shape. And then when after my nose healed in about 8 weeks, I fought right away. And I lost my first fight. I'm like, wow, this ain't going the way I expected it to go, but I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to give up. And 2 years later, I'm in the U.S. Olympic trials. I was fighting in the Olympic trials. I made it to the Olympic. If I would have won, again, the fighter I lost to is the guy that made it to the Olympics. But if I would have beat him, I would have been the Olympian in just 2 years
Two
and less than
years.
40 fights. But that was the discipline that I knew I had, that it was about trying to correct a wrong that I did. But I wasn't expecting to be a fighter. I was expecting to be a police officer or a firefighter, one of those. But I just never got around to going to school or trying to sign up for it because I was still getting myself together.
You became immersed within that gym, didn't you?
Yeah, that's what, I had a goal in mind, is become one of those firefighters or police officers. And that was my goal. And so I took it all the way to the Olympic trials. I lost the Olympic trials and I said, what do I do now? Do I go to school? A guy who was a manager came up to me and said, I'd love to manage you. I think you could have a bright career. And I'm like, but this is not the plan. The plan wasn't to go pro. The plan was to, be a firefighter or police officer. And he goes, why don't you give it a try? I think you could do great. And I said, okay. And 7 years later, I was a world champion.
Yeah. Sometimes what we plan isn't necessarily what happens, right?
It's not meant for us.
That's
There's something
right.
that's meant for us. And sometimes you have to listen to the universe.
One thing I find fascinating is, I work with so many teams, both in men's sports and women's sports. And to have a team mentality, you can feed off of each other. To have a team mentality, you can have a unified vision and there's buy in. One thing that fascinates me, and I'm a huge boxing fan, is to be an elite fighter, you have got to have such a strong mindset because what's unique about your sport versus other athletes is it's you alone in your mind. It is you preparing months for a single bout.
Yeah.
And when I watch fighters and I see their intensity, we don't see the 5, 6, 7 months that they train. We watch them walk up into the ring and begin. How did you find the patience and the perseverance to develop a champion's mindset? And how long did it take you, James, in your career to where you felt comfortable doing those mental reps in your head just as much as you were working on the skills?
Well, that's a good question. I think in 1988, when I fought in the Olympic trials and I lost, and then I turned pro in 1988. In 1989, I believe, I met my dad's friend, one of his best friends when they were in high school, and his name was Tomas Pontellano. And Tomas said, "Hey James, we met. We played golf. He actually is the one that taught me how to play golf, and he's a great golfer. But he was so relaxed. He was my dad's age. They're good friends. But he taught me how to play golf. But at the same time, when we first met, he goes, "I want to give you a book. I want you to read this book. It may change your life. The Power of Positive Thinking."
Power of Positive Thinking.
By Norman and Vincent Peale. I read that book. It changed my life. Remember, I already had turned pro. It was 1989. I turned pro in 88. But it changed my life. Before I had this this thing where I wanted to do something with myself. I wanted to change who I was. Remember, I got in trouble. I wanted to change who I was. I was a good guy, but in the wrong direction. So that early on with the amateur part of it, early pro was just drive, just me driven to do something. But when he gave me that book about positive thinking, now it became a mental thing. Now it became, I can do anything I want if I want it enough. And I can work as hard as I can if I want it enough. I'm going to expect the best out of everything I do, no matter what. If it's not, even if it doesn't turn out right, there's a reason for it. It's because something's bigger waiting for me. And that's how I looked at everything. People got tired of me, my family. You got to think positive. You got to do this. Oh, that's enough of your positive. I got to that point, when you're believing something that bad, you push it on people and you got to think positive. You can't do that. You can't. And they're like, okay, that's enough, James. Get it away from me. That's enough, Jimmy. Mama, my family calls me Jimmy. And that's enough. That's enough. That's enough. But then I said, okay, I gotta relax on that a little bit. But throughout my career from that point on, I have thousands of books on mental toughness, the book of positive thinking, how to get the best out of yourself, and learning about what you can do and being in the boxing game. It's so much of a mental. There's so many talented guys out there. There's so much talent, so many young guys, but not everyone has the mental toughness to go through it, to stick through it, to go through the heartaches, to go through the pains or injuries, to have that mental toughness to get through it and keep going. That's the toughest part of boxing.
It can be a competitive advantage, right?
It's so in every sport, you use baseball, boxing, football, baseball, basketball. They always say, "Oh, it's 70% mental and the rest is physical." Everyone says that, but who practices mental? Yeah, they all say it, but do you really practice it? And there's an art to it. You have to practice. You have to convince yourself. If you get a negative thought, you have to overcome it with 10 positive thoughts, because that negative thought is so strong. But you got to overcome it with 10 positive thoughts, if not more, to right it, to right the wrong that you had. And it happens to everybody. Oh my God, what if I get knocked out? No, I'm not gonna get knocked out. I've done this. You mark it down the line. You put it in your head. There's no way you can get knocked out. You've worked too hard. And that's what I think. I would say 80% was mental.
Yeah, I think you get to a point where so much preparation, so much study and analysis of yourself, your opponent, the situation, that you prepare for success, you prepare for failure, you almost choreograph the entire event through visualization, and it leaves no room in your mind for doubt. There's no space left, because all your mind is consumed with is the plan of action, the confidence and the ability in what you bring and what winning is going to feel like.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, you're right. You can think as positive you want, all you want, but if you didn't put the physical part into that work, it's not going to happen. Yeah. You have to work just as hard, physical and mental. They come in hand. I could have thought, I want that I'm going to win, I'm going to do this. But if I didn't put the work into it, it was never going to happen. They go hand in hand together.
So let's talk about today's athletes. You're around so many of them, and you have been since retirement. I think part of your passion is to take the lessons you learned and give them back, give them to the kids so they can grow. And you have invested so much in making San Antonio a boxing city. But let me ask you, with those athletes that you train and that you see, what are some of the things that they lack as opposed to your generation when you were growing up and learning your craft?
And you know what? There is a thing that we see, and it's not their fault. We call them millennials, and and early on in when millennials were kids, remember we gave them everything because we didn't want them to feel like what we felt like. We gave them first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th place for ribbons for everything. We didn't let them whatever. It could be anything, but we didn't want them to feel what we went through. So now that I see with kids that are fighting is entitlement. That they're entitled to more than what they're given, entitled to more money. I'm talking boxing now. Entitled to more money, entitled to bigger fights. We don't want to go through the hard part. We want the big part now. We want to fight on TV off our first few fights. If you're not fighting on TV the first few fights, why not? Why can't you get me on TV? I said, it's a process. You have to build your way up. But now it's more like a sense of entitlement. And it's not their fault. We did all that for them when they were young. Teachers and schools and their parents, I want them to have something that I didn't have. I want them to have everything that I didn't have. So that type of stuff. And that's what I see now is players, basketball players, football players, whatever, a sense of entitlement without working for it.
My dad used to always say, when the son swears, slap the father. In other words, don't always just jump on him. Think for a second, like maybe this isn't really what his intention was. It's what he's been taught. And that goes to your point. Not necessarily their fault.
It's not their fault at all. I'm 53. And my parents said, if you want something, you're going to work hard for it. When our kids were young, okay, we'll give you, what do you want? Here's this, okay, whatever, all the games. They didn't have to work hard for it. I actually made my kids were working at 13, 14 years old, washing cars for a living, for a job because they wanted things. They had girlfriends. I just tell them, hey, I'm not getting no kiss from your girlfriend. You got to do that. You got to earn that kiss. If I give you the money for it, you don't earn that kiss. So that's the thing. You want that girlfriend, you earn that kiss. And they had to work, and they're great workers. And so, but at times you see that from school or whatever it was, that sense of entitlement too.
So let's flip it now. We talked about positivity. What are some of the traits that you're seeing from this generation that really do impress you, that show you that they're bringing something new to the game that you didn't have?
I see the kids nowadays, they have and I think it's a good thing for them too, is they want to be the best. They want to be at the top. Sometimes we say, remember I said that in time, they want to be there already, but they see themselves there. That's a positive thought. I want to be here. I want to be the best. I want to make this. I want to do that. They have that. It's social media. Remember, it's social media too as well. They want everyone to see them in their social media, but I don't take it as a negative. I take it as a positive that they're trying to be the best at something. They're going to push themselves a little bit more to be the best. That's what I hope, is that they're striving for more. They want more. Is it part of the way they're growing up? Maybe. That they want more. They have to try to compete with everyone else. There's a lot of competition now. They think about that. Everyone's watching you on social media. Everyone's seeing what you do. How many friends do you have? And that could go both ways. Sometimes people work harder to get more friends, or some people are saying, I don't need all that. I'm going to do it on my own. And so we have to be careful with our youth. It's not about the stigma of what you think you have. You have to just work hard, be your own person, and keep going.
Let's move on to the entrepreneur side. You've had your gym on San Pedro, and you've got
16 years now.
16 years.
Yeah.
And you have a new gym that's about to open. Tell me about it, and tell me when you're planning on opening it up and bringing a whole new opportunity to San Antonio.
Yeah, it's the new gym will be on Broadway and 410 inside the Loop. And we're still in the phases of getting our certificate, not me, the owner of the building, certificate of occupancies, and trying to figure that out, which is taking a little longer than expected. But hopefully within 2 months, we'll be able to go out there and it's got built out my restrooms and showers and stuff, and then we get to open business. So we're not far from it, and we're excited about it. It's 7,000 square feet. We're also going to have a spinning section inside where we co-partnered with a friend who's going to have their own spinning bike inside the gym.
I doubt you trained in 7,000 square feet when you were an amateur, did you?
No. Actually, I trained at the old San Fernando gym for like 15 years, and then they named it after me for about 10 years. It was named after me, and then one of the banks just bought it out, and they're going to do something else with it. But it was a great gym. It had been around since 1945, and it's just an old school gym, just heat. And there's no AC. They just had a heater and AC that threw out heat.
Yeah, it was, from what I remember and by going by it, my dad grew up in that area of town, and you went by there and you went there to work. It wasn't to socialize. You went there to work. Yeah. And, the conditions weren't supposed to be perfect. There wasn't supposed to be air conditioning, or it wouldn't have been what it was.
And that's why even at my gym, I have AC there, but nobody wants the AC on. It gets hot in there. We open the garage doors and all that, but nobody wants the AC. And these are businessmen and women say, no, leave it off. No, leave it. They get upset with me if I want to turn on the AC. They say, no, because why? They want their fighters inside. You're a fighter at heart. You have to go through the heat and through the whatever. Obviously, if it gets dangerously hot, I turn on the AC. But I get complaints here and there about people having the AC on, but they want their fighters and they want the best out of it. And they want to be the actual fighter and go through what a real fighter goes through without getting hit.
One of the things that I want our viewers to get across is not only are you an entrepreneur, but I have so much respect for the philanthropic efforts that you've put back into your community. You've invested so much of your time, your money, your resources in San Antonio. Tell the people why that's so important to you, James. You've done it for so many years. It isn't new, but more importantly, you're not doing it for the show. I know we don't know half the things you do, but where did that heart come from?
When I first turned pro, I was always thinking, man, when I start making a bit more money, I'm gonna move out of San Antonio. San Antonio was too slow for me, so I traveled. I was saying I may maybe go to Austin, maybe go move to, because I trained in San Diego, I trained in Austin, I trained in Virginia, I trained in Florida, I trained in all these different places. Puerto Rico,
Australia too, right?
Yeah, well, I fought in Australia, but I was in these different places, just training camps. And I said, well, I'm going to move out of San Antonio. I think I'm going to go to San Diego. But the more I traveled, the more I knew how important San Antonio was to me. Then I said, there's nowhere in the world I would live but San Antonio, because I've seen everything else. And that's when I knew San Antonio was a place for me. It's a perfect place to raise a family. Everyone knows everyone. It's a big, big, small city. Everyone knows everyone. We're family. We stick together. And you don't see this in all these other cities. And so once I realized that early in my career, I always told, Jimmy Lennon Jr., one of the famous ring announcers, started introducing me, and from the beautiful city of San Antonio. And when he would say that, and I'm in the corner, I knew he would say that because we won him. But from the beautiful city of San Antonio, oh my God, my heart got huge. I was like, wow, I'm going to fight hard. And that was all pride. It was all pride from being from here, and I still am. And while being here in my city, I'm going to try to give everything I can to make it a better city, to add to it, not take away from it.
So let me ask you this. Along your career, what was the most competitive and rewarding fight that you had?
There was so many of them. The first fight with the Zuma Nelson with 63,000 people at the Alamo, even though I wasn't declared
I was there.
Yeah, I wasn't declared the winner, but just being there and being part of that, it's still to this day the best fight card ever put together, ever in the history of boxing. The best fight card ever put together. But what made that so important for me was I tell this story to people that, because you can't. It's like telling a female what it felt like to give birth. There's no way in the world she can explain to the way it felt. So it's hard for me to explain what it felt like to be there in that position, I'm not putting the two. I'm not making comparisons. It's just that way of you cannot really describe it. But when I'm standing behind the curtain and I'm the next fight up, Azuma Nelson and I at the Alamo Dome, and we're standing back and I'm ready. My whole team, my dad's to my right, my cut man's to my left, and other trainers and family, we're all there, and the curtains are closed, and you can hear my song come on, and then just people start cheering. I'm like, wow, did y'all hear that, guys? And I like, and then they opened the curtain up, and I've never gone through this in my life ever, even since then. The just volume of cheering, just how loud it was, the wave when they opened that curtain, I actually got pushed back. I went, whoa! I like, did you feel that, guys? I looked at everybody. Did y'all feel that? They go, yeah. Just the energy pushed me back, and I've never felt that ever since that. It was that loud, that many people cheering for me. It was all being pushed towards me. I actually got pushed back, and I'm like, wow. And then we made the ring walk. The fight was amazing. It turned out to be a draw, but that was something that it was amazing. Just that feeling, just right before the fight. The fight is the fight, it's whatever it turns out. But just whenever I think of that fight, I think of that cheering and of that applause when the curtain opened up. That's what goes through my mind. And then the second fight, when I fought him in Vegas, that was amazing because I actually became the world champion. Something I worked hard for 7 years, every single day, my dedication, the discipline that I had to take, the injuries I went through, the heartache, it paid off. I became a world champion. And that's something that could never be taken away from me. That was a satisfying. But there was so many of them in between that even when I fought Oscar De La Hoya at Madison Square Garden, and I'm in the ring, and I'm looking at all these movie stars, and I'm like, whoa, look at these people. Wow, look at these people. They're here to watch us fight. And I thought, and I'm in the ring, and they're introducing me, and they introduced me, and the first thing that went through my mind was, if people only knew that this kid from the South Side worked so hard for 7 years, and look where he's at right now in Madison Square Garden. That's what, to me, that was the win. I already won before I lost. I already won. Something that couldn't be taken away from me. I won where that hard work paid off. I'm in Madison Square Garden. So to fight, let's fight. Come on, let's go. He's just amazing fighter, Oscar. The power, the speed, the height, everything. But I was there, and I've earned that. I earned my weight there.
Earned it.
Yeah. And then after that, I fought other guys and became another. I fought Azuma Nelson again and beat him for another world title after he knocked me out in our third fight. So it just the accumulation. There's so many fights that I was had the gratitude, thankful to be able in those positions, and thankful that I did the right things along the way. Didn't take shortcuts. I worked hard. I worked hard. I got lucky.
I worked hard. Yeah. Just happened to get lucky because of all the work.
Exactly.
But you talk about the Alamo Dome. I'll tell you what I experienced. And, we had some great seats because that card that night was unreal.
It was amazing.
I couldn't hear myself think. The anticipation of waiting for your fight. Sure. And then the pause before, and then you sense when the lights start to dim, here we go, things are getting started.
Yeah.
I'd never heard anything that loud before. Yeah. And, it's one of those things you've got to be there to explain it. But, you had goosebumps.
You can't explain it. Hard to explain. Oh. Yeah, it's hard to explain.
At that point, you had the entire city there for you to support you, to tell you they love you, to say you're our champion. And it was something I'll never forget. You talked about how you in the ring with Oscar De La Hoya, you had already won. Yeah. I look at you just walking to that ring and seeing this kid who walks into a gym and just starts and has to struggle and sacrifice and make ends meet. And you have one of the largest audiences who's ever been in the Alamo Dome there to see you. That has to be one of those moments again where in your heart you're like, I've already won.
Yeah, it was. I already won, and it made you fight harder no matter what. Those times in that fight that I was hit and I couldn't, for 30 seconds, I didn't feel anything. I was out of it. But you have to pretend that you're still fighting. You have to pretend that you're not hurt. You have to keep going. And that was that drive of, I got to fight for my city. I'm fighting for my city.
So when you speak with athletes today, what's your message to them? Because I know you do a tremendous amount of speaking. What's your primary message with athletes today?
You know, it's more about being mentally tough because everyone, like I tell you, we've been training sports for 16 years now. So I talk to a lot of the guys there. I talk to a lot of them, and it's about being mentally tough. I said, all you guys are great. You're in the NBA. Everyone's great. You guys, you're you're no different from LeBron James. But what makes separates him from everyone else? His mental attitude. What's going to separate you from everyone else? Your mental attitude. Because you're all great. You're all physically gifted. You're all tall. You're all speed. But everyone has that. What's going to separate you from everyone else is what's in between your ears. That's what's going to separate you from everything else. So work on that. Get mentally tough. And to be mentally tough, though, you have to go to the physical part so you can back it up with your mental, and vice versa. You got to back it up.
Look, I can't thank you enough, James. You have provided so much wisdom, and it came from experience, it came from hard work. And my hope is those people that watch are able to get a takeaway from this about how if you dream of something, you can achieve it.
Oh
You
yeah,
just got to be willing to invest. You got to invest constantly.
you have to invest and keep investing, and don't stop investing into it. Um, keep putting it away. Keep putting it away. Keep stocking up on that investment because it will pay off. It may not be 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 years. It could be 7 years, like it was for me. And then after that, when you make the top, when you get to the top, you got to work even harder because someone's trying to take this boxing. Someone's trying to take it away from you. But it's also in business. You can be a great businessman or you have your business going, but there's someone else, your competition right next to you, that's going to be outworking you if you slack off. Just when you become a world champion in boxing, you have to train even harder because now people want to surpass you. So now that it gets tough, it gets hard, you got to work even more, and that's what happens. And it's in life. It's in life. You give up on your marriage or you're not working hard at your work, it's gonna fail. You have to. I've been married 31 years now, and you have to keep working at it. It changes, not daily, but it changes. But if you give up on it, it's not gonna last. You got to cherish it like it was your first year of marriage. Always. And my wife and I have a great relationship. Um, she I understand it. We've been together since we were 12 years old. We're both 53. We've been together since we were 12 years old, and good times, bad times, everything. But we know that what's best for us is to be together. We worked great together with the boys. They see us happy, and it's right now. It's just like if it's starting. We're like we just got married because it's so fun. We're having such a great time. We have our granddaughter. It's a new life of being grandparents now. Now we're grandparents together, and we're going through that together. But you have to keep working. It's always a work. It's not just work, but it's a work in progress. You always have to better it, no matter what. When it gets perfect, it gets boring.
Right? When it's too easy, it's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
Absolutely.
It's got to be a little work.
And she probably adhered to that same mindset you had as a young kid. And she was a part of the struggle. She was a part of the challenge. And that brought y'all closer together. And that's the great thing about a story is it's always going to have an art to it. But
Yeah.
if somebody's willing to stick with you, and you said
Yeah.
family's not always blood, it's friends.
Friends too.
Those who are willing to stick with you, that inner circle. And when it becomes your spouse who's seen the good, the bad, the ugly, celebrating the successes of grandchildren, you just look back and you realize how blessed you are, right?
I am. It's just an amazing thing. And I would not be who I am if it was not for her being next to me, guiding me, supporting me. Support goes a long way. Supporting me, being with me, going through every single fight and watching everything, watching her loved one. Can you imagine watching your loved one get hurt, get knocked out, get stopped, get cut, get broken nose, and when it goes through to when my son was fighting, it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. The hardest thing. And then I felt so bad for my dad because I put him through 20 years of that. And you know what, having that support and having that family structure is everything. It's everything. If I had everything in the world, it wouldn't matter to me if I didn't have my kids or my wife with me. It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't be worth it.
Absolutely. Family first.
Family
You have
first.
spoken on every pillar that Charge Up is all about. And, my heart is happy because
And I'm so
it
happy.
works.
I'm so happy that you guys have charged because there's not enough that going on. We need to encourage everyone to charge up, to get the best out of themselves, to be that one person, that special person for someone else, to be that motivator for someone else. Like I said, remember when I was in that positive kick, I was going.
Yeah.
We have to do that.
Yeah.
We have to do that as people, as to our neighbors, as to our friends. Hey, neighbor, how you doing? You looking great. Your house looks awesome. Keep working hard. Keep doing that. Whatever. We got to charge up people.
It's
Charge them
true.
up.
So many people don't understand that we all have a leader within. And where
Yeah.
it comes out is when others can elicit the greatness out of you. And that's
Yeah.
where belief comes from. When someone believes in you, when somebody can harness that one talent you have, it builds a person, and you may not ever know it, but it was in that one act of kindness. It was in that one moment of motivating them, of making them feel important. And there's not enough of that. I think you hit the nail on the head. The more we're able to do that, the more these kids that we talk about being entitled, the more
Yeah.
they realize the real lesson and the reality starts to come in.
They
Because
start
when I
realizing,
believe in you,
yeah. But they start realizing, you know what it is? We do have to work hard. We have to keep at it. We have to stay composed through it all. And there's not with there's not so much family unity like it used to be
right?
around. But the more we share it with friends, and people always tell me we're at Soluna all the time, but people say, "Wow, you're always with your family, always with your family." And they said it gave me motivation. Go hang out with my mom and dad, whatever, or have the kids. We're bringing the kids out. Good. I'm glad. I'm glad.
That's the point, right? And that's
Yeah.
what I talked about when you do social media and you don't say a word and you just span that camera. Like
Yeah.
that's all you're saying
What I'm
is
thankful for.
so
This is
proud
what
and
I'm
thankful.
thankful for. My show, friends and family, togetherness.
Yeah, I'm gonna sneak up on that table one day. Now that
Yeah, yeah. Come on in.
I'm just gonna sit right there out of nowhere and wave. I'll,
Yeah.
I'll, I'll, I'll tell this. This will tell you how long it's been. We've known the Calavillos forever, so
Uh-huh.
I'm used. We grew up and we called Jerry Gerarito just because he was little Jerry. He was teeny,
Yeah.
and now to see Jesse Jr. and to see Jerry running the restaurants, it's so neat because we're all grown up. We have kids, and
It's
we used
amazing.
to be little kids running around with Jesse and Carmen, and
Yeah.
that was family. We were always together, always together. Well, hey, I can't thank you enough, James. Thank you so much for taking the time. Tell people where they can find you and where they can learn more about you, the gym, and what you're doing.
Well, the gym is on 6824 San Pedro now for about 2 or 3 more months, hopefully less. But we're on 6824 San Pedro. Numbers 826-4350. And after that, we're going to be in Broadway and 410 inside the loop. We'll be there hopefully soon. I can be contacted at Jesse James Leija at Gmail. That's my email. Jesse James Leija Instagram. Jesse James Leija Facebook.
And I encourage you all to follow him on Facebook because you're going to see the family and you'll see that this isn't just talking. This is something that he takes pride in. Hey, I hope you have a great day, James. Thank you from the bottom
You
of my
made my
heart.
day already, brother. You made my day already. Thank you.
I appreciate it, man. You have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
We'll
Friends,
talk to you.
do what you're supposed to do. Find that champion within you. And don't forget, charge up.